Pumunta, mayroon tayong meeting sa mga kaibigan natin sa Philippine Coast Guard. Of course, may mga Thanksgiving events tayo. Catch up tayo dun sa mga ating mga minamahal na mga patriots, no? Yung mga lumalaban para sa ating bansa, yung mga matapang, yung mga tao na who are risking their lives, their flesh, their careers, yung mga kasama natin dyan sa Philippine Coast Guard at saka Armed Forces of the Philippines na talaga nasa front line through and through and throughout different administration. At of course, in light of that, gusto kong balikan itong isang issue na to mga kameta, no? Kasi pansin ko, there's some interesting developments naman, of course, over the past years or so. Past year or so, which is etong how should I put it? Naging common sense na, 'di ba? Naging common sensical ng tao, 'di ba? Wala nang mga pasikot-sikot, wala nang mga excuse, wala nang mga pakyut-pakyut, wala nang mga pa-spin-spin, Harry Roque style. No. I mean, we're seeing gladly finally more and more Filipinos coming out and saying enough is enough. More and Filipinos coming out and saying, grabe naman tong bullying na to. More and more Filipinos coming out and calling out a spade, including mga politikos, including a number of people in the Senate, a number of people dyan sa ating Kongreso, the leadership of the Congress, the leadership of the Senate, both Senator Mig Zubiri and Speaker of the House, Martin Romualdez, all of them have been coming out and very strongly speaking out against dun sa bullying in China. Ang concern ko lang naman dito mga kameta, is that when it comes to these matters, I always appreciate enlightenment kung may mga namulat. I always also appreciate naman yung I always appreciate people speaking out. The more the better, because after all, of course, ang pinag-usapan natin dito yung ating karagatan, ating interest ng ating bayan, ating national sovereignty, all of those things. So, I appreciate all of those things. Ang akin lang naman dito, simple lang naman two things matter. One is consistency and intention. Kinda related yung dalawa na yan. Kasi kung ang intention may klaro sa isang bagay, magiging consistent ka over time. Pero pangalawa, timing. Kasi ganito. Ngayon, kahit anong ingay natin dyan sa West Philippine Sea issue, ang katotohanan is the people who should have made the right decision are already making it. So si Pangulong Marcos Jr. already made a strategic and executive decision na magsa-stand up na tayo sa China. Now, we're gonna call out a spade a spade. We're gonna push back against bullying. We're gonna push back against aggressiveness. We're gonna push back against all sorts of shenanigans dyan sa West Philippine Sea. So, itong green light ay binigay ni Marcos Jr., no? Especially after yung kanyang pagbisita sa China. Nung pumunta sa China nung January, gets ni Paolo Marcos Jr. na talagang hopeless case ang etong status quo because ang China hindi tayo nirerespeto, hindi tayo siniseryoso. Bakit naman tayo siseryosoin at sanay sila na puro mga digong style lang yung presidente natin? For 5-6 years, I would say 5 years because in fairness dun sa towards the end ng term ni President Marcos Jr. President Rodrigo Duterte no October 2021, he called out naman China. In fairness dun sa ASEAN-China Summit, he called out China. Essentially, sinabi niya na, grabe naman, bakit ganon, diba? Makakala ko kaibigan tayo, don't do this to your friends. May pagkaganyan. Which is the line we also hear from, his, some say as factotum, diba? In more recent months, diba? Siyempre, malapit na elections, kailangan na mag-repositioning. No, I mean, going back to this mga kameta, ito kasi yung issue ko. Yung timing ngayon is, kung anong ingay natin, in fairness naman, Marcos Jr. has already made the decision. He goes January to China. He's expecting that in China, he's gonna get some major concessions and agreements. Concessions pagdating sa West Philippine Sea, concessions pagdating sa mga Chinese infrastructure projects na hanggang pledge lang at wala naman nangyari talaga. So lahat yan na, 'di ba, ina-expect ni President Marcos Jr. na some solid developments will happen, no? Among them, of course, yung expectation na magkakaroon ng isang service contract agreement with a Chinese company dyan sa Reed Bank. No? Yun ang expectation. Kasi of course, kitang-kita ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. na, my goodness, paubos ng Malampaya Plan, kailangan natin replace yan, our energy and economic security is at stake. So, kailangan natin na i-restart itong mga joint exploration negotiations with China, but of course, under a service contract. Kasi ibig sabihin ng service contract, kinokontrata lang natin yung mga Chinese companies para sa atin yung sovereignty. No? Katulad ng ginawa natin sa Malampaya, I think Shell Company, no? So hindi sa Shell yung sovereignty, sa Pilipinas yung sovereignty, no? But we contracted out to them. So we were looking at something like that whereby China can somehow, may consuelo sila, but at the same time hindi ma-violate yung ating saligang batas, hindi ma-violate yung ating legitimate sovereign rights per international law, per United Nations Convention Law of the Sea, and per the Arbitration Award of 2016 under the aegis of UNCLOS. So, yun ang ini-expect ni Marcos na on this front magkakaroon ng some clarity, and then also ini-expect ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. na magkakaroon din ng clarity on another front, which is yung mga Chinese infrastructure projects, yung 3 railway projects nila, yung kanilang all sorts of different big ticket infrastructure projects under Belt and Road Initiative na pinangako nila kay Digong na wala naman nangyari, walang financing, ang taas ng interest rates, hindi natin alam nangyari. So sir, when you look at all of those things, so President Marcos Jr. is expecting something will be given, except nothing. He goes 2 days there to China, and then they release this long statement. Walang concessions, walang anything of substance na binigay ang China sa Pilipinas. So that was crazy. So President Marcos Jr., matalino yan, nagets niya. I mean, he has been dealing with world leaders since kabataan pa siya dahil syempre anak siya ng dati natin diktador. So bata pa lang siya, he was seen as kind of a crown prince heir apparent. So Mao Zedong, I don't know, Fidel Castro, lahat sila na-meet niya na nung kabataan niya. So this guy knows how to deal with big powers, no? Psychologically at least, no, if not intellectually also. So sabi niya, hindi tayo siniseryoso ng China, hindi tayo nirespeto ng China, so we have to do something different. Kaya nag-decision siya na EDCA, no, i-expand natin itong Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. Nag-decision siya na payagan itong Philippine Coast Guard na maging agresibo dun sa kanilang transparency initiative. Essentially, binubuking nila yung mga bullying ng China sa West Philippine Sea. Nakikita din natin mga kamera, sorry, masyadong dark pa. On ko nga itong light na to. Wait lang. Ayan. Okay, ito. Hindi, ito mga kameta. Off natin to. Ayan. Okay. Hindi, ito mga kameta. Wait lang, isin na natin to. Hindi, mas clear to. Okay. Sorry. Ito. May production pa eh. Hindi, ganito kasi mga kameta. So, President Marcos Jr. gets niya walang saysay itong negotiation with China unless we get the respect and we negotiate from a position of strength. Yun ang parating sinasabi. I'm all 100% for negotiating with China, with dealing with China, with diplomacy with China, but from a position of strength. Otherwise, bawastusin lang tayo, bubulin lang tayo, and it will be essentially a subjugation. No, a question of subjugation is a question of concessions, is a question of peace under submission, right? At yun ang ayaw natin with China. So, President Marcos Jr. also green-lighted Philippine Coast Guard taking a more aggressive stance, binubuking yung mga kabulian ng China. But also, yung isa pang ginawa ni President Marcos Jr., of course, is dinidouble down yung ating mga military exercises and drills sa ilalim ng balikatan exercises, sa ilalim ng karat exercises, sa ilalim ng all sorts of different major exercises with Japan, South Korea, Australia, UK, US, Australia, name it, right? And of course, tuloy-tuloy din itong mga defense deals natin with other countries, including India, for instance, no, and some countries in the Middle East, among others. So push lang tayo ng push. Not to mention also building ties strongly with EU, with France, with United Kingdom, these kinds of countries. So things are looking very good for the Philippines on multiple fronts right now, developing our position of strength. No, lahat kasi yan about leverage. So obviously, itong China, hindi nila appreciate ito, nabuisit yung China, kasi sanay sila na purong tatay digong lang yung kausap nila, naiinis sila, so gusto nilang turuan tayo ng leksyon. No? So kaya yung ginagawa nila ngayon ng bullying sa West Philippine Sea, ay isang response dun sa kanilang realization na they have lost the Philippines, na hindi na ito yung Pilipinas ni Digong, but obviously they're having a hard time accepting that reality, so they're relying on gangster threats, gangster kind of water cannoning, gangsters kind of intimidation tactics that are increasingly moving towards an arm attack just short of it, but are also more increasingly aggressive dun sa kanilang mga tinatawag na gray zone tactics, na mga pasimple, hindi sapak pero may konting gano. Alam niyo, yung mga nagba-basketball, alam niyo yung mga ganyang kalakaran, di ba? Yung hindi mo susuntukin pero lahat gagawin mo except susuntukin mo para hindi siya total foul, right? So parang ganun yung ginagawa nila sa atin. Now, having said that, obviously, of course, this raises a lot of challenges because ngayon, dapat ang Pilipinas at US magkakaroon ng more coordination on how to deal with this situation. Kasi of course, kung arm attack, sabi ng US, automatically ma-apply mutual defense treaty. Ang US nga, tinutulungan ng Israel, tinutulungan ng Ukraine. Ukraine na nga, hindi nga nila treaty ally, di ba? Philippines, may treaty alliance sila. So, wala silang takas. And in fact, both Republicans and Democrats must hate nilang China. On the issue of Ukraine, may division sa US. But on the issue of China, there's unanimity almost that China is the threat. So, whether they like Philippines or not, magkakaroon ng intervention ng US in this part of the world kung bubulin tayo ng China ng all the way, meaning through an armed attack. But the problem is that China is smart enough, they're not gonna do any armed attack anytime soon. But they're doing anything short of an armed attack. Now, ito kasi ang problema ngayon. Diba? So, meron kang presidente na more or less ginagawa yung tama. More or less tama yung mga coordination na ginagawa niya. More or less maganda yung kanyang messaging. So, he speaks softly, but he's trying to carry a thicker and bigger stick, right? Because of our stronger alliances, because of modernization of AFP, because of expansion and modernization of Philippine Coast Guard, which is arguably the best Coast Guard in Southeast Asia right now after 10 years of aggressive modernization. Having said all of those things, you know, mapakit na mga politiko ngayon na biglang pa West Philippine Sea sila, na anti-China sila. Ang tanong ko is, mas kailangan kayo nung panahon ni Digong. Kasi nung panahon ni Digong, we had huge momentum and opportunity to build a strong alliance, no, with countries that are not threatening us, right? Nung panahon ni Digong, grabe yung ginagawa ni Digong, di ba? Nakakaya yung mga sinasabi niya, kailangan natin maging meek and humble para we'll get China's mercy. Ano klase, ano yung pananalita yan ng head of state, di ba? Kahit nga barangay officials, hindi sila ganun ka slavish magsalita ukol sa China. Even Hun Sen, yung best friend ng China, hindi nagsasalita ng ganyan pagdating sa mga ASEAN countries. And then, si Digong, hindi niya hinayaan na makompleto yung mga joint patrols plan sa West Philippine Sea, pinipush back niya yung mga EDCA. I mean, of course, I have my concerns also with EDCA. I have also my concerns about relying on other powers. But alam ko, pagdating si kay Digong, ang intention niya ay questionable. I don't think he wanted an independent foreign policy. I think he wanted, no offense, but hindi yun ang maganda para sa ating bansa. Especially when binubuli tayo ng harap-harapan dyan sa West Philippine Sea. So, yun yung mga panahon na kailangan nagsalita itong mga ibang politiko na yan. Diba? Yun yung panahon na kailangan natin sila na lumalaban para sa ating bansa. Yun yung panahon na dapat sila ay nagsalita at nag-call out ng mga mali ni Presidente. Well, let's not forget, meron tayong tinatawag na separation of powers, equality of branches of the government. No? So, ibig sabihin, kung ikaw ay senator, you have all the right to criticize the president. Yes, the president is the chief architect of the foreign policy, but he cannot do whatever he wants. He cannot do just tatay-style barangay geopolitics. There has to be pushback against that. So, these people have not been speaking about this for quite a long time. Now, some of them, diba, biglang ngayon, super palaban for West Philippine Sea, diba? And then also you have situations where some of them are finally fighting. So, I mean, in fairness kay Senator J.V. Arcito, nakita ko na inaaway niya yung mga DDS blogger, pro-China bloggers, Makapili 2.0 bloggers, yung mga Mark Lopez, Kim Jong-un type mga boys, mga ganun. Yeah, in fairness. And then of course, ngayon yun, parang may press conference siya na grabe tomato, parang hinaharas siya, hina-attack siya. Well, you know, all I'm gonna say is, good job, sir. But at the same time, don't forget, this is what people like, like yours truly and many others have been doing for 6, 7, 8 years. You know, I gave Duterte benefit of the doubt in his first few months in office. But as soon as it became clear na malabong tao to, at hindi magandang intention niya or hindi magandang strategy niya at medyo malabong mag-isip, medyo sabog yung foreign policy, I began criticizing him. First on the drug policy and increasingly his foreign policy. No? So, I'm all for independent foreign policy, but not the Tatay-style independent foreign policy. And I'm all for people fighting for the West Philippine Sea, but not only when it's convenient. Diba? If you really love the West Philippine Sea, if you really want to fight for the West Philippine Sea, you should have done it when it was politically risky, inconvenient, if not worse. And that's what many people were doing during that time. nung time na sobrang malakas yung mga pro-digong trolls. Ngayon, mahina na sila eh. Pinagtatawanan na lang namin sila sa Twitter among others eh. Kahit dito nga sa YouTube eh. Wala. Pero nung time na yun, sobrang malakas sila. Yun yung time na dapat talaga lumaban tayo. Kasi kung mahal mo talagang West Philippine Sea, kung natapang ka talaga, kung talagang siga ka, dapat ginawa mo yung time na yan. Ngayon madali na kasi mahina na sila eh. Oh, 'di ba? Pero nevertheless, I'm glad that some senators, they're, taking up the cudgels to fight against some of these trolls on a, parang almost, hindi naman hand-to-hand combat, pero on a one-to-one basis. But we needed more of this noon. Kasi problema is, even if tama si BBM ngayon sa kanyang policies, he's operating from a position of relative weakness. Right? Kaya ang problema natin ngayon is, catch-up time tayo. Catch-up time tayo doon sa lahat ng mga kapalpakan ni Digong. Catch-up time tayo doon sa lahat mga loss opportunity pa ni Digong. Catch-up time tayo doon sa lost momentum ni Panoy Digong. Kasi after lumabas yung arbitration, we had a very strong momentum to pressure China internationally, United Nations, ASEAN, etc. Of course, we're not going to get 100% support. Many countries would still side with China. But you had to put that pressure on China. And then in exchange, we could have got a number of concessions. So we didn't leverage it at all. Ang ginawa ni Digong, he undermined our own position. Ginaganyan lang niya yung arbitration award, essentially parroting the Chinese line. Nung ginanon tayo sa Reed Bank, yung Gemver natin, muntik na mamatay yung mga kawabayan natin, anong sinabi niya? He just copy-pasted what China was doing. Embarrassing. Super embarrassing. Worse than embarrassing. Of course, there's another way of putting it, but, we'll not go that far. Obvious naman eh. So, yun ang sinasabi natin mga kameta. Yung mga matapang na senators ngayon, matapang na mga legislators, politicos ngayon sa West Philippine Sea issue, well, it's good, but it's convenient now to be pro-West Philippine Sea because that's the position of the government and majority of Filipinos. But the real challenge was noon, malakas pa ang mga makapili club. Nung 6 years pa ni Digong, yun yung time na dapat sana lumaban sila. But anyway, I hope there'll be redemption, and I hope hindi ito opportunism lang. I hope they'll continue to fight. And I'm glad that at least senators like J.V. Ercito na interview namin, the good Estrada yan, he is taking up the cudgels and fighting back. But yun nga, the other thing na kulang rin, yung solidarity. Yung mga lumalaban para sa West Philippine Sea, they have to come together. They have to have solidarity because this is about our country. This is about our nation. Maybe you don't like Marcos Jr. Maybe you like Digong. I don't know. Maybe you like Lenny, whatever. Maybe you like... I don't know. I don't care what's your political affiliation. The important thing is, I care if you care for the Philippine sovereign rights. Lalaban ka ba para sa international law and the rights of smaller countries and the Philippines, or lalaban ka ba para sa mga higanteng bansa na binubuli tayo? Alright? Pumili ka, 'di ba? Bayan, pumili kayo, 'di ba? Yun lang naman sinasabi ko eh. But at least the thing is, alam natin kung sino matapang talaga at sino talagang lumalaban para sa West Philippine Sea. We had 10 years to see that since the Scarborough in 2012. And dito nagkakaalaman na talaga sinong matapang, sinong lumalaban para sa Pilipinas at sino nagmamahal sa ating bayan. On that note, thank you very much mga kameta. Talk to you soon. Balikan natin ito yan ulit. Alright? Binilisan natin, sorry. Kailangan ko na mag-catch up dito. Grabe naman kasing traffic din itong mga panahon na to eh. Grabe. Sige, talk to you soon guys. God bless. Have a good day.